Hi, everybody. I'm Julianna Forlano here for the Political Voices Network. I have a lot to say about the coverage of the school shootings in Nashville. So let's just get started. Here is CNN's coverage and conversation around it. And I'm going to play through the whole video. I'm going to flag the fact that I think that people walk away from the video, walk away from this kind of coverage, just feeling like there's nothing that can be done, even though both of the women on the panel say what needs to be said. But somehow, in my opinion, but when you leave, you still feel like, what can be done? And don't get me started on the friggin' guy. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Buckle your seatbelts. Get your pitchforks. Here we go.
Conversation always when this happens. And I want to stop having that circular conversation. And I want this to stop happening. And I just don't know what more we can say about a troubled person with access to guns going in and taking it out on little kids.
Well, I'd like to see what was going on in this person's life. What do we know? We know that the police chief has indicated that there may be some resentment towards this school.
Sure, but I just want to stop it's an elementary school. This person is 28 years old. So
these are the chief's words, not mine.
No, I'm just telling you what he said. That one is a little bit hard for me to digest because that was 20 years ago or 15 years ago. But go on.
We also know this person wrote some kind of a manifesto, which they haven't released yet. We also know this person made diagrams, which tells me there was some sort of premeditation here. So I'd like to know what was going on in this person's life because I would like to know who else knew about it. I mean, one of the things that strikes me is really important here is, did other people in this person's life know that this person was potentially violent, potentially a harmful person? And if they did they tell anyone? And if they didn't, why not? That's one of the things I'd like to know. This is the red flag conversation, that some states have enacted, and it's not foolproof, but that's one thing. Just before I turn it over to the panel, I just wanted to say we need to say God bless the Nashville police. Showed up in minutes and took care of the situation, totally different than Uvalde, and also God bless those parents. I've got a kid who's 9 years old, and the idea of dropping off your child only to have them never return. I can't even. I don't even want to talk about the shooter anymore. I'm so tired of talking about these shooters because the story is the same thing over and over again. It doesn't matter. I want to talk about the fact that millions of children are living every day with terror going to school, which is supposed to be safe. My entire life, there was not one school shooting my entire childhood. Why? Because AR-15s, assault rifles were banned into the late 1990s. And so I never lived with this, and millions of children are living with it. So I personally want to stop talking about the shooters, stop trying to diagnose what's happening. All over the world, there's crazy people. All over the world, there's aggrieved people. Only in America do we have these mass shootings day after day after day. It's not even close. The numbers are not even close. And there's a red line when you watch the numbers in the chart. It changes the day it changes. The day we start seeing this massive spike in mass shootings, is when the assault weapons ban expired. It is as simple as it gets. So we are allowing our children to live like this. We are prioritizing weapons over children's lives. And I think millions of Americans are sick of it. It's really the only conversation we should be having is, when are we going to ban the ARs?
God bless this lady.
Every mass shooting has been an AR-15 for the last year.
Yeah.
All right. So that was good. Thank goodness that lady was on there. I know you've asked me, audience and people in the comments, to not interrupt when the people are talking so that you can get a full sense of what they said. So I did that for you. But now I've got a couple of things to say, especially about this friggin' guy. Okay, I'm going to go through. I'm sorry to play this again for you. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But let's just look and undo what this guy says, okay? Because he's doing some very tricky things here, and it's very important to, my pressure's going up. My blood pressure's gone up just watching this. And the lady who responded made my blood pressure go down a little bit. But I think that our blood pressure needs to stay up because we have had it in this country. Do you feel that? Somehow I feel like we've literally had it now. That's it. I don't know. Some changes in the air, and I'm hoping to help. Here's this guy.
What more we can say about a troubled person with access to guns going in and taking it out on little kids?
Well, I'd like to see what was going on in this person's life. What do we know? We know that the police chief is in.
What do we know? Now I'm going to interrupt. What we know is he had access to a gun. That's what we know. That's what we know.
Indicated that there may be some resentment towards this school.
Sure.
Oh my God, he had resentment? Doesn't everyone watching Fox News have resentment? Doesn't everyone watching MSNBC have resentment? Isn't the whole world rife with resentment?
But it's I just want to stop you. It's an elementary school. This person is 28 years old. So
these are the chief's words, not
Sure,
mine.
no, I'm just
telling you.
I love the way he's like, these are the chief's words, not mine. I'm just echoing them in a way that might make, everyone just calm down and not think we have to ban ARs, which we do. Who is this guy? He is disgusting.
What he said.
That one is a little bit hard for me to digest because that was 20 years ago or 15 years ago. But go on.
We also know this person wrote some kind of a manifesto.
You know what's in the manifesto? I have a gun. I love ARs. That's what's in the manifesto. Oops. Hold on.
One is a little bit hard for me to digest because that was 20 years ago or 15 years ago. But go on.
We also know this person wrote some kind of a manifesto, which they haven't released yet. We also know this person made diagrams, which tells me there was some sort of premeditation here.
So he's suggesting that people with premeditation, they're, terrible. There's some reason for the premeditation and that makes them, of course, they're all of the school shooters have premeditation. Sometimes buying the gun is part of the premeditation.
So
wouldn't buying a gun in any situation be part of a premeditation? What are you going to do with it?
So I'd like to know what was going on in this person's life because I would like to know who else knew about it. I mean, one of the things that strikes me is really important here is, did other people in this person's life know that this person was potentially violent, potentially a harmful person? And if they did they tell anyone? And if they didn't, why not?
Okay, this is egregious. And again, my pressure's up because what he is saying is it's other people's fault for not noticing. He has a gun. He's talking about red flag laws, which he talks about later. The person has a gun. And in fact, all of the shooters had ARs, okay, that we've seen over the last year and in years before, most of them did. ARs. Isn't anyone who owns a weapon of war, isn't that the red flag? Why would you need a weapon of war in a peaceful country? That is the red flag. Banning ARs is the only thing to do here. All right. And also, the other thing about him saying, why didn't the people around him, tell? Why didn't the people around the shooter do something? Shifting blame from the fact that society allows people to have these mass killing weapons. And so the blame is on somebody else. And I find this, a really useful technique for those who would want to march us into the kind of society where neighbors tell on neighbors, where everyone is looking into everyone's business and then telling. Setting up a situation where people are reporting on their neighbors all the time. This is sure, of course, if someone saw the manifesto and called the cops, like something that just happened in my hometown of Syracuse, New York, in the grocery store where my mother shops, where my sister shops, where we used to go when I was a little kid, there was someone who put on his Facebook or Twitter or whatever that I'm coming to shoot up the store and I have a gun, and the cops showed up at the store and the guy showed up at the store and they stopped it. Thank goodness. Before anyone was hurt. Great. That works. Reporting works, but not everyone is always following everyone's Twitter account. So if there were no guns, no problem. No guns, no problem. Or at least not high capacity magazine guns. This is just so, I know you've heard these arguments before, but I really don't think we should be slowly marched into a situation where people feel comfortable reporting on their neighbors, where everyone's reporting on their neighbors, because maybe in these cases with the guns, it would be used for good, but in other cases, it will not be used for good. For example, female reproductive rights, reporting on your neighbor if she's, she didn't have her period, then all of a sudden she goes to Canada and comes back and that becomes illegal. All of that, it's just, we're getting so close to inescapable tyranny. And it's a scary world. Let's keep listening.
That's one of the things I'd like to know. This is the red flag conversation, that some states have enacted, and it's not foolproof, but
What is foolproof? That's another thing about the red flags. He said it's not foolproof. What is foolproof is banning the AR. Then nobody can shoot up a school with an AR. Hello. We just heard last week about the some body cam footage released, and I encourage everyone to go to Lawrence O'Donnell's show on MSNBC. I think you can find it. You can definitely find it on the internet, because that's where I saw it, on YouTube, where he talks about how I think it was some body cam footage was released, and it showed that the police were talking at Uvalde, and that they did not, even though they had their automatic weapons and their weapons, they did not want to engage with someone who had an AR. Here's my question. Where are the cops fighting against ARs? Where are they? Washing the blood off their hands? There should be, and is there an organization of police for gun control? There should be. Maybe there is. I didn't Google it before I went off, but I should, have heard about it, because this is something that I follow very closely. I live very close to where one of the elementary schools was shot up, where little children were killed, and I have a daughter myself. This is absolutely disgusting. More from this guy? Can you take it? I don't know if I can take it. Here we go.
that's one thing. Just before I turn it over to the panel, I just wanted to say we need to say God bless the Nashville.
Oh, just hearing him say the word God makes my skin crawl. Okay. It's nice that the police came in and did their job. That is good. I support that fully. Isn't that what we pay them for? Yes.
Police showed up in minutes and took care of the situation, totally different than Uvalde. And also, God bless those parents.
God bless those parents. And then he goes off into a calm discussion of, I can't even imagine. No one wants to imagine. And yes, let peace be in the hearts of those parents. But from the words of someone defending the right of someone to own an AR-15, a weapon of war in a peaceful country, it's absolutely vile. It's disgusting. I feel like I'm watching like a monster. A monster. And look how nice he can stay calm. He stayed very calm, and somehow calm men discussing things in calm tones is what is called for somehow. And that's what's respectable. Women getting hysterical about you shooting up our kids. Oh, well, that should be tossed aside. This is a time for calm discussion, rational, reasonable, unemotional. No, it is not. It is not. This is no time for calm. In fact, his calm and anyone else's calm in the face of the shredding of our children's bodies with bullets, it's called sociopathy, being able to stay calm. It's called psychopathy. I'm sorry I'm going totally off. I know I'm like a comedian, but I was also a therapist, and I'm a mother, and I'm an American, and this is just unblanking acceptable at this path. Calm in the face of state-sponsored terror, which is what this is. It's state-sponsored terror allowing these guns, because the moms in the world and the parents in the world and the families in the world who have children who are going out into the world are terrified. This is, by the way, made this point in private, but I guess I'll make it in public, a great way to get people to not want their kids to, get an education and go to school. This is an excellent way to undermine public schools, although I believe this one was in a private school. Okay. State-sponsored terror. Yes, I doubled down. Go ahead, clip it, put it everywhere that this Northeastern, pundit says that allowing ARs and letting that ban expire, the ban on assault rifles expire, is state-sponsored terror. Because, there are other things. I thought of a few things we could do if we can't just ban them. I mean, President Biden's out there calling on Congress to ban ARs. Great. What else can he do? Can he somehow raise the taxes? How about this? Beautiful comedian. Oh, comedians always have so many great ideas. George Carlin said, or somebody, I think it was George Carlin, said, we should just make the bullets expensive. How about we tax the bullets at 30,000% of what they cost and thereby making them unaffordable? Could we do that? And then all of the money that gets, brought in for people who can buy those bullets, how about those all go to a grief fund for the people whose lives have been destroyed? This is no time. I mean, why not? Can President Biden do this? Why not? Why not tax those guns to shit to make them so that only the elite who really don't need the guns can afford them? No one's doing that. This is not time for calm. And don't say at the end, I don't think we didn't watch it all the way to the end, but at the end, I'm going to skip it because I can't take another minute of this guy's talking. And maybe I've talked long enough myself, but here, watch the end. Watch where, no, this woman was an angel. Watch where the host, whose hairdo I absolutely love, watch where the host says, it just feels like there's nothing we can do. Hold on.
Parent, I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. It's just throw your hands up,
There you go.
I mean, I remember Sandy Hook, and it was like, well, this will change it. These things just not changing. And I don't know, we just wake up. It's going to happen again. I mean, it's going to happen again.
There is a feeling.
He is normalizing it. That's what he's normalizing, because people do feel despair around this, but we cannot afford despair.
Of helplessness, and there is a feeling of, well, I guess we can't do anything. Our kids are sitting ducks. I mean, it's got to that point.
It's gotten to that point, but that's only because the news talks about it so calmly, and you bring these people on and you don't fight back strongly enough. Although I do think that third guest, the lady who said the things that needed to be said here, nobody likes an angry woman, so they don't allow women with feelings to go on the TV. And then we get called shrill if we go on the TV in discussions about our babies being shredded by guns. Please do not walk away from that or this video doing nothing. And I know everyone watching here is probably on the same page that something needs to be done. And I say we have to ban those ARs. First things first, until you can figure out how to do more mental health care and really get the red flag laws, which some states don't even want red flag laws. Anyway, let's ban them. It's just, don't walk away. Okay, when I worked for ACT TV, one of the sister organizations for ACT TV, and some of you might know me from my work over there, was a Vote Pro-Choice. And one of the guests I often had on was the CFO of Vote Pro-Choice, Heidi Seek. Wonderful lady. And she, what they did over at Vote Pro-Choice was they would track elected officials from the president all the way down to the local dog catcher about, where they stood on reproductive rights. And you'd say, well, why do we care if where the dog catcher stands on reproductive rights? Because the dog catcher is eventually going to be the garbage person or the head of this other thing and move up the line. What we can do is call our elected officials, any of them, any elected official today, any elected official, and tell them that you want to know where they stand on banning assault rifles and that you want assault rifles banned. That's what we can do today. Don't just call, your senator. That's not going to do everything. That's That would be great if we could get it from the top down, but we need to let these elected officials, no matter where they are, know that people want assault rifles banned. People want weapons of war unavailable. Unavailable. End of story. I'm Julianna Forlano. I encourage everyone to call any elected official you have, especially the ones who might be on the right, and tell them how you feel about this. And keep telling them over and over how you feel about this situation. Because I've heard this also from, staffers, that one call, they count one call that they get to mean that there's a big upswelling of support, right? Because most people aren't going to call. Most people aren't going to do it. I ask you, do me a favor, put in the comment section of this if you called and who you called. Do me a favor. I really like to see if you called and who you called. And hey, thoughts and prayers are great too. But as I said in another video, faith without works is dead. I'm Julianna Forlano. You're listening to the Political Voices Network. What do you think about everything I said? Sometimes I think I just do these videos to hear and read your comments because your comments have been fabulous. Thanks so much. See you next time.
Republicans say they won't cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. But can honest, hard-working middle-class Americans really believe what these politicians say? Republicans said they wouldn't overturn Roe v. Wade. Here's what Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett said during their Senate confirmation hearings.
Roe v. Wade, it is a precedent of the United States Supreme Court. A good judge will consider it as precedent of the United States Supreme Court.
Roe v. Wade. It's settled as a precedent of the Supreme Court.
Roe is not a super precedent, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled.
Well, we saw how that turned out. They played us for fools. Tell your elected officials to keep their hands off of our Social Security and health care benefits. Fool me once. Let Majority Rule was responsible for this message. LetMajorityRule.org is a project of the Marvin Lucas Super PAC, which is responsible for and paid for this ad and is not affiliated with or authorized by any political campaign or candidate or candidates committee.